Well, everyone, we're back from the first ever Masters Feeder World Championships in Spain on the Guadiana River. And Ben's pleased to see me back out, you mate. Have you missed me? Eh? And wow, what an experience. Absolutely, what an experience. And what a group of men that I've had the honour of being with for the last 10 days. And I'm going to tell you all about it, the match tactics and everything like that. So I'm just going to go through it all and sum it all up really, and all I can say is I'm absolutely wrecked, honestly. I feel like I've been run over with a steamroller, but in a good way, if that makes sense. And but what an experience. And this is the first one, the Masters World Championships feeder, the first one. It should have happened last year, but because of COVID it got put back. So it started basically with the Angling Trust nominated Nigel Franks as our manager, and wow, what a decision that was. What a decision that was, because he has been outstanding. Now, I've been round World Championships teams for a long time, and I'll be honest with you, this group of anglers is as good, if not the best one I've ever been part of. And I really mean that. Everybody got on. There were 9 of us in the group, and Nigel put it all together, and crikey, when it was appointed, I went, oh, that's a good call. I like that. That's a great call. That I didn't know that he could do what he can do, but he set everything up perfect. So organised, efficient, and never wanted for anything. Absolutely first class. In fact, I'd be very surprised if he's not in charge of one of the of any of the teams. To be fair, any of them, he could run any of them. I thought he was that good. And of course he appointed Mark Morris as his number 2, and I've known Mark a long time, and what a job he's done. Wow, with the organising, the raffles and everything that before we came. I knew he was capable of all that, but I didn't realise what he was capable of, what he could do on the bank, and he was just awesome, with a smile on his face, loved every second on it, wanted to be there, absolutely awesome. The best bait man I've ever known was Will Freeman. He were incredible, and to be honest with you, I put these lads on the same level as that. That's how good these lads were. And Mark was just brilliant. I just love his company. He run my section second day, and he were absolutely brilliant. And then there were 2 other lads who came along who were just... I'd never worked with him before, didn't know him. And wow. Steve Welford, who I call Wielden all week. I don't know why, but his name's Welford, Steve Welford. For a southerner, wow, what a bloke. His enthusiasm and his energy just were unbelievable. It were breathtaking. It lifted everything in the team. Everybody were buzzing and with him. And tactically were brilliant. They couldn't do enough for you. Not enough. And it was just unbelievable. But his enthusiasm was staggering. And it rubbed off, certainly onto me at 67. It was like a breath of fresh air, really. Absolutely outstanding. Then there were Rob Brennan. Now, I've known Rob a long time, and by God, I'll tell you something, I know why he's been successful in business, because he has got a right brain on him, a very good tactical brain. And he sorted me out on quite a few things for the weekend, and every day he went to see the anglers, come back, told me, and we discussed it and did different things, which I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But I'll tell you something, what an angling brain he's got. And all them, I'll be honest with you, that 4 of that group of lads was sensational. I've never given many people 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give them 4 lads 10 out of 10. They were that good. The anglers never wanted for anything. The ground bait, the bait, everything we done, riddle, worms, everything. Never wanted for one thing. Got us tattled, helped us get tattled to us, but first class, absolutely first class. So, the anglers. Well, we've got Darren Cox in the team. Oh, you all know Daz. And he was sensational this week. It's a real shame he didn't get a medal. It really was, because he was best angler on bank all week. He was fantastic, and I'll tell you why more in a minute. He was like a couple 100 grams off coming third, and I think a kilo off beating me. And the fact he didn't get on podium were one of the disappointments at Wheeler, because he deserved that, because he was sensational. Simon Fry, cool customer, unbelievable fisherman, a bit lack of experience in this sort of thing, but as a fisherman and a bloke, like second to none, absolutely awesome. And then you've got Andy Moss. Oh, I didn't know a lot about Andy. I didn't know a lot about him, but I'll tell you something. He's going to be a top angler at this level. If he wants it, he can certainly do it because he come across absolutely brilliant. I watched him fishing the trial and he was really, really good. I must admit, he impressed me so much, and he impressed me over there, and he's going to be a top if he wants it. And then, of course, my travelling mate, Richard Vaughan. I've carried him for a week. Honestly, it's been a nightmare. I've had to drive him there, drive him back. I'm wrecked. I'm worn out. But I'm kidding. We've laughed from getting in my car at Van here to get it out at Van. We've laughed. We've had a joke. We've had a go at everybody. We've covered everything. And when it gets to the fishing, he's the most untidy angler I've ever fished with, including me. He's got stuff all over. But I'll tell you something, he can fish, that lad. He can fish, and he's gonna make some marks in this, I'll tell you. So them 9 anglers were sensational, as good as team I've ever been with, and I haven't got enough praise. And the biggest disappointment for me is that I got a medal. I got a silver medal in the end, which is that one, and they're only me got on podium. And if I could give that back now and have the lads all have one round the neck, I would, 100% would, because they were sensational. They deserved that medal, not me. I had the easy part of the fishing, but they were. I'm absolutely gutted they've come back without a medal. But what I will say to them, I'm going to do everything I can in my power to make sure they get a medal around their neck at some point, because they deserved it. They were that good. Well, they weren't good. They weren't even very good. They were exceptional. They were fantastic. And I ain't got enough praise for them, and hope they ever want. I'll do my best to do, and that's what I'm going to do. Make sure that at some stage in the next few years they get at least one medal around their neck, because they deserved it. So all that team were put together, but what about the main part of the fishing? Well, we all went off and we've done different things and raising money. We've got some sponsorship from Poynton Lawyers. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much, boys. We really appreciate it. Sent us ground baits. You can't. They supply the ground baits all the time. And in this case, it were priceless, to be honest with you. So what about the main part of the fishing? And well, this place was in Merida in Spain, and I've been there a few years ago. And you could fish a feeder then. You could fish a method feeder and different things, and you caught big carp and carasio. It was beautiful. I think I had a couple of 50 pounds, and it were beautiful. But it were all method feeder fishing, and this, you're not allowed to do that in World Championship rules. It's all open feeder or maggot feeders, and you've got to have the hook length, the hook 50 centimetres below the feeder when you cast out. So that's what you have to fish. So we got there on Sunday night, and Daz and Simon were already there, and they'd had a good day on the Sunday, because you can't fish the match length, but you can fish 500 metres away from the match length. And I think they'd had 35 and 50 pound of big carasio and some big cats, some big catfish. But they learned quite a few things to get us started. What you've got to remember, in all these 9 anglers, it's only me and Daz we've really got international experience. All the lads, it's all brand new from them. They've never seen carasios, and certainly catfish. They'd never fished for them before. So it were all new to them. Everything were brand new. And so we helping them through and talking about these fish. But this venue was incredible. It caught me out every day. What I mean by that, it changed every single day. And this is what happened. So the first day of training, there's 4 in a team, there's 4 sections, A, B, C, D, and we drew B section the first day. So you get a zone where all the 5 anglers fit in. And we fished there. Now, when I was there last time, I thought there was a depth where the fish fed best, and it was 14 foot. I forgot, but after a couple of days I remembered, because I'd fished a couple of the same pegs, and it were about 14 foot. Now in B section, that were about 35 metres, and we caught some catfish, and at the end of the match we caught some big carasio. It was pretty obvious that Darren and Simon had fished day before. Really obvious, because they were ahead of us a little bit. But eventually we caught a few fish. We come short and caught a few fish, and we caught some catfish. At the end we caught some carasio. These carasios averaged about 900 grams. The catfish were different sizes, and there were different catfish than I'd ever seen before. They were like a silver catfish, and they went up to, well, big sizes, and they were right spiny, as you can see. I don't know if you can see that on the sand. They were right spiny on the fins, and you had to get them a certain way, otherwise you were in a lot of trouble. And trust me, they were sharp. And we had to catch them, but because they were so big, because in lots of countries you catch these little spiny ones that are about that big, maybe an ounce, maybe a bit less than an ounce. Horrible little black things they are. They're horrible, all spiky things, and they want them. There was what they call a silver cat, and they were nice fish. They were worth fishing for. So we started on a bit of a plan like that. And I think we all caught double figures of kilos, and I think I'm not sure who won that. So I think Daz won it, and he was just better than anybody else. You could see straight away that he were miles in front of everybody else. Then the second day we went in A section, and we went in A section, and that 14 foot were a bit further out, and it were almost like it went on a slope like that, and it were like 38 metres. Anyway, we caught fish, and all of a sudden we started catching some fish at 15 metres, because what happens is you put the ground bait in and everything like that, and the fish come in. And we started catching little crassios that worked out about 47, 48 to 50 grams. So they weren't even 2 ounce when you weighed them and averaged up. We caught some catfish early, then we caught these crassios. And later in the day we caught a few at 6 metres, and I'm talking a few, just an odd fish. But it were all like, sort of 30 metres, and then we caught some at 15. And we didn't have massive weights. I think we had a 7 kilo and some 6s. And we're thinking, might be alright with 6, 7 kilo. But you always felt you were just a little bit short. But it were really important these crassios fed the last hour. That were pretty obvious. And it were obvious that these catfish, because they were different sizes, were more important than the crassios, which was wrong. But we worked this method out, and we thought, we're doing all right. Other teams were sort of on par with, because all the teams talk and show you what the weights are and everything like that. Now, although I see other people weighing in, you never get to know what the tactics were, because what happens is, when the England lads are walking up, if they've got a tactic, they put it away. They don't let England lads see out. Right, because obviously we don't. If we see one French come or one Italians, you put your method down that you think's going to be method for the weekend. So you put it down. Then it all changed. On Thursday we turns up and we drew in D section, and in D section it were deep, really close. It were really weird. And I'd fished this section a few years ago, and I can remember it being sort of flat, but that 14-foot line were at 15 metres. It were almost like it went from D along like that, like a slope, and it were at 15 metres. And I thought, that's a bit weird. I'm going to. This is a bit different. So I fished 15. At lads went longer, and I thought, no, I'm just going to fish 15 and see if I can catch these cats. Because the day before, a tiller in that section had 18 kilos of catfish. Oh, that's what we heard. And so I set off, and it were black with catfish. I was getting one above. It was stupid, hitting bottom, going around, bit of worm on, with lots of baiting, lots of chopped worms and maggots and things like that, chucking it. And for 2 hours I got one every chuck in it. It was stupid. And all of a sudden lads are catching some of these little crassios, these little fish. And you thought, are they going to come into it? You need a lot of them for 10 kilo. And we actually weighed them in, and there were 20 to the kilo. And we're thinking, right, take 200. You can't catch 200. So we were like doing other things. Anyway, the trouble is, what happens is Thursday night. It's the presentation and for the opening ceremony. So you have to finish at 3. So you couldn't stop on and do any extra practice. But what happened was, when I caught them 2 hours, I started fishing at 6 metres, because when a couple of lads had got them, and I'm catching these fish, and it were really good. And Rob come down to me and watched me, and he went, Tommy, you've got short rested lads that. And I did not realise what I was doing. And I've got a big confession to make. I moved the feeder. Probably about 2 billion times, but I moved it. I really did. I know what you're thinking, but I did. And the idea was, it hits the bottom, and because of the 50 centimetre upland, if you didn't get a bite, or you got a bite, you lifted 6 inches and dropped it again, 6 inches, dropped it 6 inches until you got one. It saves you missing. And all the lads were winding and casting back in. So we've got them all around me, we showed them all, they've all gone back to the pegs to practice it. And it was Rob that he's got an incredible angling brain. That I'm telling you, he's got an incredible angling. He picked it out and said to me, "You got short lads that's brilliant." So then we've gone down to Darren because he was doing something a bit different. We all sat behind Darren, and then we've gone back to train it. But we couldn't train it after 3 o'clock because it was like the last hour. It was quite weird. So we've had to get off and go to the presentation. We've all caught loads of fish, but all of a sudden, these little carassios were back in it. They were back in it. So Friday, come to Friday. On Friday we were in a C section, so we've all gone down, got set up, and I said to the lad, look, this is the last day, we've got to train these little fish. We've had a meeting, we've got to train on these little fish because we weren't ready for them. So we've got them all fishing 6 metres, all catching these little crassios. For 2 hours, that's what we're going to do. So we've gone off. The rest of the lads are going to watch other teams. So I'm catching them like lightning, watching other lads as well, and they're doing right well. I thought, oh, we're all right here. We'll get us 1 a minute. That would target 1 a minute. If we can catch 300, we're not going to be far off a medal. That's 100%. So what happened? Well, all of a sudden, tap on shoulder, Rob and Steve were there. Right, one of them been down at Italians, and one of them's had 93 in first hour. I think Steve had been down there, and Rob had been up to French, and he says that one of them. There's only one of them doing it. Right, so they spotted it, and he's had 90 odd in an hour. And I went, 90 odd in an hour? 2 metres. 2 metres. So I've gone, oh my God. And I went, I tried it day before, and I couldn't get a bite at 2 metres. And I don't know whether that's because I were in deeper water. I don't know, but I couldn't catch, because I was trying to find out how close I could get them. So I've got my feeder, and I've dropped it in like 2 metres, put 2 feederfuls in, gone like that, it's gone, whoop, got one. You got to remember now, we're 3 hours in to the last 5 hours we can train. And I've gone, oh no, I'm getting one to choke. Rob, get out lads up here. Got out lads up, sat behind me, watched them like that. You've got to go back, try it. Go back, try it, and they're all fishing it now. They're all getting into things. We didn't know about which type of feeder, which hooks and everything. Darren's further down because he's spotted it, and all of a sudden, the more you fished it, these balls of fish appeared. They were like big balls of carassio like this size. What unbelievable! I'm going to show, if you watch end of this, if you haven't fell asleep, right, watch this little video I'm going to put on for you of the ball of fish. And this were in every single peg, like this, every single peg. But these balls of fish appeared. And it was like, you put it in him, and it's going, that's going ding, 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 like, whoo, like that, got one, like that. And if you didn't get one, you just lifted it, dropped it again, lifted it, dropped it, and you'd get one. Most of your fish you didn't even know were on, because the length of that 60 centimetre. But what were obvious were the hook and the feeder. It was so important. So 3 o'clock's gone and we've done. We can't train anymore really, and we've got to get ready for the match. And so off we went. And unfortunately Andy was reserve, and I'll tell you something, that's as close a call I've ever come across in angling. It were really, really close. But Andy were left out first day. Not because it was just one of them things, it's hard to explain, but it's heartbreaking as well when, you know, one of the lads has put so much effort in. I've been there, I know what it's like, I've got the t-shirts, I know. So anyway, it's come to the day, and I drew A section night before, B was Simon, C were Richard, and D were Darren. So I've gone to A section, and I've gone down there day after, but we're still not sure really, and his team tactics were, we're going to fill it in out there on that 14-foot line at 2 metres. Now, before I go any further, what I'm going to say to you is this is not feeder fishing as we know it, right? It's not, and everybody would agree with that, it's not feeder fishing, but it's what you have to do. If you want to beat them, you've just got to join in and get on with it sometimes. It's just what it is. And I know one or two people who say, that's not feeder fishing. I'm first to admit that, and every other competitor would say exactly the same, right? So this is what we had to do. So we put 2 big feederfuls in with ground bait. Now the ground bait were Census Lake, Census Gialli, and all lads, you know, backroom lads, through a pinky riddle to get all big bit sacks. We didn't want big bits, and it was as fine as anything. That morning we got 4 bags each. On the far line, we use that Census Power, which is I must say is a nice ground bait. It was darker, it was better for the catfish, and so we had 2 different ground baits. So on the 2 metres and the 6 metre, because what I said to him, I says, I think we should feed both lines just in case they're not on 2 metres. So we put 2 big feederfuls, just ground bait with a few maggots in, emptied it on top so it clouded through, 6 metres, and then for the rest of the 10 minutes pre-baiting, we just put loads of corn and worms on the 14 foot, and we were all on a different line. Some were on 35 and some were on like 14 metres near the top. Just emptied it for 8 minutes, just keep putting it in and keep putting it in. And then you pick your little feeder rod up when your first cast is on your short line just to see if they're there. And you'll know within 1 minute. 1 minute. Anyway, so I've gone in like that, I've got my feeder. And these are feeders I used this one. That one. A smooth hound, a new fish smooth hound. They were fantastic. Little feeder like that, just a 4-0 one like that. And I'm going to tell you in a bit why that works so well. And that's all I use. Now, anybody knows me knows that I like full plastic. But the one like this with the 4 holes in were really important. And you'll explain in a bit. So, the hook, that one, look at that, a size 12, right, special feeder. A 12 for fish that big, it made a massive difference. Because what you did with a 12, you just put your hook into the maggot and threaded it on. Just threaded it on, that's all that you did. And then what you did, the shouted time, you fill your feeder, and you've got to make a cast. The bayline's got to come off, even though it's at 2 or 3 metres, and line's got to come off. So you go like that, as you throw it, you undo it, plop to the bottom. I went in, it went, don't, got one, first cast, second cast, third cast, fourth cast, and I'm flying. And I'm thinking, wow, how good is this? But then we start learning about them because we hadn't had enough time to practice. So all of us were learning on that particular day. And so I'm just putting fish in net, and I'm putting fish in net, and I think first hour I had 82, and my target was minimum 300, 1 a minute, and all above that's a bonus. But then when they're shouting the results to me of other teams, I'm thinking, crikey, 60 ain't enough. I'm going to need 80 to 90 an hour to compete. So all of a sudden you start learning as you're going. And what happens is, you get that feeder, and it were like a little, and as you cast it underarm, it might sound daft, but it had to go up in a little bit of air and go plop on the top. And what happens is, after about an hour, these ball of fish appeared. It was ridiculous. Wait till you see the video, you'll not believe it, right? And what happened is, it went plop like that, and these fish on it, followed it out, and you catch them that way. You're getting them on drop, you tip with like that, ding, 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 going down through the water. It was unbelievable. And every so often, you just pick it up like that, and there'd be one on. Half my fish, I didn't have a bite. I just picked up like that to move it, and they were on. I just kept getting them, swinging them in, they were coming off, and all kinds of things. But there were fish all over the place, and catching them, and just kept putting fish in net. And a couple of lads were having a problem with snags, and that cost them a few fish. And anyway, come to end, and I had 400. Ignore whatever you do. If you look at the boards on the thing, ignore the numbers. They weren't right. The stewards they were lost because they were watching 2 people. They couldn't keep up, and they couldn't quite see you from behind. Now, on the first day, I had 446. I've caught my fish for years and years and years, and I always count them. I know how many species I've got and everything. And I had 446 fish, trust me. So when I've come out, I weighed in 20 kilos 900, and the Frenchman on peg 3, I was on peg 6 by the way, beat me by 600 grams. So I was a bit disappointed considering I was learning about him. And we had roughly the same, I think, but we're not sure because we don't know if they counted them or whether their steward got them right. And that's what were a bit confusing. You're looking at the numbers on the board and you were a bit confused about it. So anyway, I come second. And Darren come second, Simon was 7th, and Richard was 5th. And both them two had a nightmare with snags and the position of the peg. And like I said, they were still learning about these fish. So we finished up, we were 4th, and we had 16 points, Italy 13, and Hungary had 7, I think it was, and France had 8. So it was obvious that they'd been practicing it probably a couple of hours before us. It was pretty obvious that. But we still could get a medal. you know, we could still beat Italy and get a medal. And we had a good meeting, a good natter, and what we decided was, like, instead of using the 15 gram one, which I used first day, the best one was a 20. And it did, because it made that little plop on the water. So I've changed it to the same feeder but a 20 gram, and it made a big difference. Now, the hook we just used, on the first day I used 2 hooks. 446 fish, I used 2 hooks. I had a bit of tangle with one. It got round and got a knot, so I just changed it. I didn't need to, but you don't feel right in your mind. So it's come to second. I drew A section again, and I drew peg 3 where the Frenchman would be. Now, every peg was roughly the same, apart from an odd snack. It made no difference. Hungary would have won it off any peg, and France would have come second off any peg. It was just there were that many fish. So I've drawn peg 3, which was the Frenchman's from the day before. So I've gone in, I've put the little heavier feeder on, and I had a tiller at the side of me. I'd got an Italian to my left. I thought, oh, crack. And I got the same Frenchman further up in the section who beat me. And I thought, oh, thanks, Nige, make it easy for me. Just unbelievable. And like a tiller's like, well, he's world champion and everything. He's won loads of feeder fishing things. But anyway, away we goes, all get set up, and we just about forgot about that far line. We've set one rod up and fed it just in case, and all we did, we got geared up for this inside line. Off we went, and Steve ran my section. Steve Welford, the first day, he did a fantastic job for me. I know within ounces roughly where I was. He did an awesome job. But then Andy was brought in for Simon, and the good mates Andy and Steve. So he run his section for second day, and I got Mark Morris. And all tactics were really we've got to beat the Italian. That's your only job. Beat your Italian. And the Italian went aside of me. So all Mark did, put a chair down and tried to count our fish and keep us in touch. And all match you were going, you saw me in front, you saw me in front, you saw me in front. And I knew that I were in front all the time, and I were in front by enough, like 40, which is 2 kilos, that when it got to the last 2 hours, as long as I caught, he couldn't catch me up. So I set off, and in we went, and going away, and we're all going fish for fish. After an hour, I was 20 fish in front. 2 hours, I was 28, I think it was in front. 30 hours, I was 30 something in front, and I'm catching. I'm really catfishing. Really good match. I'm really pleased with myself. But then he just said to me, Attila's got so many, and Frenchman's got so many. I was 30 odd fish in front of him. He says, you're probably going to win section. So off we went, and at the end of the match it come, and I had 450. I weighed in 450, these Carassio, and I thought, well, that's 4 more than the day before. And I thought, oh, have I got a chance? Anyway, it's come to Italy, and he weighed 18 kilo, or 18 something, the big 18 I think it was. Come to me, picked him up, 21 something, I can't remember the exact weights. So I beat him, so I thought, well, that's got us a point. Attila pulled his out, 19 kilos, I beat him. And I must have been alright chuffed with that, we beat him now, because he is a fisherman and a half. And then it come to the Frenchman, and lifted him out. And if you've got on a video one before, I've done a little video of me when he was weighing in, and I'm shouting, Mark, what's happening? And he went, thumbs up like that, you beat him, and he had 19 kilo. So I won my section. And I'm going to tell you something now. A few years ago, right, not years now, a really good friend, Alan McAtee, Big Al, fished with him world championships in the 80s. He once said something to me, and he said, Tom, honestly, the best feeling in angling is if you win your section for England. And he's right. It is. It's the best feeling ever. When you win your section for England, I'll tell you something, it gets... Honestly, I was roaring up bank. I was that happy. It's a long time since it's happened to me, that. And I was really emotional on the bank because I'd won my set. I didn't even know I were on podium or anything like that, but I'd got 1 point for England. And honestly, I rang our Emma up and we were both crying up phone. And Alan McAtee told me that years ago, and he's right, it's the best feeling ever. So I won my section. But our team got a medal. And we come second on the day. Daz had 22 kilos top weight on the day, and then Richard was fourth, I think it was, and Andy fifth. So we'd actually got 11 points, and we tied with Italy, which is an incredible achievement. I don't think these lads realise how good that was. Italy got more medals than anybody over history of fishing. It's like these lads are so experienced, and we tied second with him, and only been beat with Hungarians. It was a fantastic performance. I don't think they realise how good that was. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and we come fourth. And that in itself, first time with these lads, was unbelievable, in my opinion, unbelievable. I think it was sad we didn't get a podium, but it was still an incredible achievement. And then it came through that I'd come second, and Daz were fourth, missed out with a few grams, and I must admit I was really gutted for Daz, because he was best angler on bank all week, and he really deserved a medal. He really did. He were awesome, like other lads were, but he were on bank fishing. He were our best angler. So I finished up with a silver medal, and long time since I've been up podium. So I finished up, and it was really special for me, especially with Jose Sanchez, who presented it. That was really special. A good friend of mine, and he presented me to it. And you know, they're just, you can't buy them moments. You can't buy the moments of going on that podium and getting a medal put right. You all know I won't gold. You all know, but I'll tell you something. I'm going to treasure this silver because it means so much to me. And I don't celebrate silvers, but I'm going to celebrate this one because it's a long time since I've been on podium. I thought it never happened to me again, to be honest with you. And I was proud as punch. But the trouble is, when you're the only one that's got a medal, because I'm a team angler, I always feel not 100% because lads that got one. And I told them that at the presentation. I thanked everybody because they got me the medal, not me. I had the easy part of the fishing. Without their work ethic on the bank, with the bait, the ground baits, preparing me, and the tactics that they brought to us from going to the people, they got me that silver medal. They really did, and I'll treasure that and thank them for the rest of their lives. I really would. It was a really special moment for me. Especially I've been involved with the Feeder Fishing World Championships from day one. It meant a lot to me to actually get on podium. But I'm not finished yet. Don't think I'm finished. I've got to get these lads a medal. That's my main job now, is to get them a medal. But it was a great start. We've got it going. And if you've read my book, right, you know I love first. You know how much I love being part of the first things. I always think it's really special. Now these group of anglers have got it going. They've got it started. This group of anglers, right, have got it going, and they should get incredible credit for what they've done. Some have no experience whatsoever, and what they've done this weekend. And I know for a fact, because it's an age thing, 55 and upwards for the Masters. Hopefully in years to come there'll be two, and Masters and the Vets from 65 up. At the end of the day, like, other people who get to 55, they're going to want to take these lads' places. But I'll tell you something, you've got a job on, with what I've seen. You've got a big, big job on, and if you don't go, do some work. Because I'll tell you now, these lads are going to do the work, because they've had an experience of it, they've had a taste of it, and they want some more. So if you want to get in this set of lads, you better do some work and do something about it, because it were an honour and a privilege to be part of this week. Last week, it was fantastic. I can't describe it any more than that. And the only two sad things is Daz didn't get a medal and the team didn't get a medal, and that would have been perfect. If we'd have got a bronze and my silver and Dad's bronze, that would have been perfect. Icing on the cake, because they deserve that. So thank you, lads. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. It was an incredible experience. Again, thanks to our sponsors and everybody like that. But most of all, thank you at home for all your messages, your support to our lads. It didn't go unnoticed, and everyone at lads really, really means a lot to them. They appreciate it like you can't believe. All the messages, the texts and everything like that we've had has been unbelievable. So thanks very much, but stop on, watch this little clip of these balls of fish, these balls of Carasio on the water. It's going to come on any second now. Thank you. I love England, and I can't wait for next year. I'm as buzzing like a little school kid. Thanks for your support. I really appreciate it. Right, I just want to show you something where, look at them, them's Carasio then. There's balls like that all the way along, balls of black Carasio on the surface. That's ridiculous. And there's them all the way along the match line. And they average about 50 grams. You can probably just see them. And that's some of the fish that we're fishing for. Oh, going round here. There's trillions and trillions and trillions. Hopefully in our swims by the weekend. Right, there we go. Oh, bleak, we're not counting that, look at that. Got to be good to catch a bleak in amongst all them crassio. Yeah, actually, you're right. Yeah, you've got to be good catching them bleak in all them crassio. They average about 40 to 50 grams. Look at them. Never seen out like that. What's this when he puts his feeder in? There you go. Watch it. Alright. Oh, he's come back without another one. You'd think it were impossible, wouldn't you? And they're like that in everybody's peg. Everybody's peg that's feeding, it's like that. And you can tell the line that everybody's fishing because they've got that in front of them. I'm going to swim into that ball of ground bait now. Oh. Awesome, incredible.